shit is real, my shit is raw, my shit is authentic.
Welcome to the first episode of the Abstract Next Door podcast. It's not really the first episode because a month ago I sat here and I tried to record the first episode and it did not turn out well. And it's because I need to be more transparent. So I'm just gonna be honest. This is my second time doing this. I waited a whole month. I went and I did a lot of shit so I could be here, sit here and be at peace. And so I could be excited and so I could feel comfortable. I completely underestimated how not difficult, but how a bright ass light in my face and a mic in front of my face would kind of irk me a little bit. So here I am. I'm excited to be here. I hope you are. Thanks for clicking on this. Thanks for even giving it a shot. I'm really excited to sit here. I'm hot. I'm just excited. So where to begin? I guess I just ask that you give yourself permission to sit here and listen to this podcast today. I think we're so busy, with life that we forget sometimes to give ourselves permission to sit and do things for ourselves. So give yourself permission to sit here with me today. I'm giving myself permission to take time, and devote my energy and myself to doing this. And I feel good about it. So I hope you feel good about it too. So I'm Maya. I'm your host. I'm the host for this podcast. I just started this. It was an idea that sparked months ago. I think it took me months to really get everything together, but I wanted to make sure that I came here and I sat and I spoke my truth, from my higher divine self. So it took me a while to get here, but I'm here and I'm happy to be here right now. So I wanted this first episode to be very foundational, but so many things have happened in the past month and a certain theme keeps showing up. And I feel like because it keeps showing up, that's what I need to sit here and talk about today. So today we're going to do a little bit of inner child work. I didn't want to start so strong, but I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about to get to the foundation of this journey that I've been on and a journey that a lot of people are on right now. Maybe they don't even know that they're on this journey, but it's good to bring life into it because I feel like this is a way to ascend to our higher beings. And it's something that I think we're all calling for, given what's going on in our world today with the quarantine, with government, with policing, and just everything that we see in the news. It clouds our spirit, it clouds our judgment. And sometimes we need to focus our energy inwards so that we can make a difference outwards. So that's really what I'm about. That's what I'm passionate about. It's something that I've been practicing for a while now. It's actually something I've been practicing my entire life, is what I'm learning. So here we are. As I experience this life in my human form, I'm meeting myself in a variety of different ways, and I'm seeing myself from different perspectives and different lights. And there's a lot of parts of myself that I don't necessarily like or condone, but I still love those parts of myself. And that's really something I'm learning to blossom into, is appreciating all aspects of me, even the ones that might be a little dark, or even the ones that even the parts of myself that have been a harm to myself and maybe even a harm to others. I'm learning to show compassion and kindness to those parts of myself. And by doing that for myself, I can do that for others. And that's another big thing, is we need to start practicing for ourselves before we start practicing on others. And so that's what I mean by focusing energy inwards so that we can make a difference outwards in other people's lives. So recently I got my first Reiki attunement. And for those of you who don't know what Reiki is a form of energy healing. So what that would mean is me, a Reiki practitioner, would basically be a conduit of healing for the receiver. And that's really all it is it's our job to create healing spaces for others and provide them with the intelligence that they need to continue on with their healing. So an attunement is basically another word for initiation. And that's exactly what it felt like when I was getting my attunement. It felt like I was being initiated into something that was huge. So I was entering a community of people who have devoted their life's work to healing others, or to create environments so others can heal. And I needed to be granted permission. I needed to show myself, and I needed to show my light in order to get this attunement. So in a traditional aspect, we all have these gifts, all of us. You know, when we were born, you know, you look at children, they're 100% divine light. They came right from God. They are close to God because they're so fresh. They're new, they're untouched, they're straight from heaven and brought onto this earth in human form. And so we are that because we came into this earth in perfect condition, close to God, our truest divine selves. And that's how I view children. And we'll talk about children another day. But that's us. That was all of us at one point. So we all have these gifts, but somewhere along the line, life happens and we lose those gifts, or we lose sight of those gifts. And some of us never get back to it. Some of us are traveling that journey to come back to our truest selves. And so before you can get your Reiki attunement, or whoever whoever, they call them Reiki masters, whoever is giving you your attunement has to check in with source before they can give it to you. So they're checking in with God to get permission to give you this gift, or to attune you to this gift, to initiate you into this community of people who are devoted to being conduits of healing. So my mom came with me, and my dad came with me, and my dad was going to be the first person that I would practice on. And so my mom came, and she was in the room because she's also a Reiki master herself, and she wants to get, accustomed to attuning others because that's where she is right now. And I'm her daughter, and we allowed her to be into the room. And so I felt like when I was being initiated, I felt like a child again. I was sitting in this chair, my mom staring at me with this big grin on her face, and this beautiful woman, her name is Deborah, who is going to be attuning me that day, had to check in with source to see if I was ready. And, we had a lovely conversation. We talked about crystals, and she asked me, how did I get here today? Why am I doing this now? I'm not the one to really sell myself. I keep a lot of the stuff, a lot of my abilities, a lot of my talents, I keep to myself. I don't like to oversell myself. I don't like to talk about myself too much. So that's an unusual question for me to answer. So I felt a little awkward, and I felt like a child. My mom's there staring at me with a grin on her face. I felt like a child again. And I was actually reliving a lot of moments in my childhood in that moment. Like those feelings of being a child, they live in your emotional body forever. And that's why it's important to go back and do, and to really understand who were you as a child, and what were you thinking, and what thoughts were you thinking because of your circumstances or because of certain experiences that you felt or saw or heard, and it lives in our nervous system. So when we're put in positions that remind us of our childhood, our bodies react to it physically, we react to it emotionally, and we react to it spiritually. So that's why inner child work is so important. To go back and really meet yourself as a child and go back and give yourself what you may have needed that you didn't necessarily get. So I'm sitting here, I feel like a child again. And Deborah says, you know what? I'm waiting for something to be cleared, and I don't know what it is. And so I'm getting nervous. I'm like, here we go. I knew I wasn't ready for this. I'm not, I feel like I'm not good enough for this. I'm not ready. Who am I to think that I could sit here and do this today? So these are the things that are going on in my head. And and we're on autopilot all the time. So I'm not necessarily consciously aware of these thoughts. I'm not consciously aware of all these thoughts that have been brought up simply because she said, something needs to be cleared. Deborah said, was there a time when you were about 5 or 6 years old where you met someone who was not from this world, who's perhaps from another realm? And I'm sitting there like, I don't know. I don't remember half my childhood. I don't remember. There's only a few things I remember from my childhood. Most of them are not good. And, we'll talk about why that is later on, but most of them are not good. I don't remember anything from my childhood. And so I see my mom in the corner of my eye, and she's getting worked up. She says, can I say something? Can I just say something for a second? I'm like, sure, Mom, go ahead. And she proceeds to tell a story that she's told me a few times before. And it's an interesting story about my childhood that I do not remember at all. And basically what happened was, my parents separated when I was 3 years old. And I have very little recollection of that. But apparently I took it very hard, if you ask my mom or even some other people who were around me at the time. So my parents separated when I was 3 years old. And I would see my dad on weekends. So he would pick me up from school Friday, and he dropped me back home at my mom's house on Sunday. And so my mom had me from Monday to Friday. So my mom, when I was about 5, 6, or even 7, I know this because I would have been in grade 2. So I'm born in December, so I would have been around 6, turning 7. My mom goes to a parent-teacher meeting, and apparently I'm telling all the kids, I'm telling my teachers that I have a baby brother on the way. And I'm so excited about this baby brother who's coming. And my mom would walk me to the bus stop, and I would talk to her about my baby brother. And my mom would be like, no, baby, you're not having another baby brother. I'm not pregnant. This is not happening. She completely denounced it because she wasn't pregnant. So where am I getting this from as a child? Like, so I'm telling all my classmates, I'm telling my teachers, I have a baby brother on the way. I am an only child, so this is a big deal. Like, I've always wanted siblings. So I'm excited about this baby brother. Weeks go by, and my mom finds out that she actually is pregnant. And she didn't tell me. She didn't tell anybody. But she could not have this child because although my dad was in the picture, my mom was still operating as a single mother. So she was completely independent. She handled all the finances on her own. She was taking care of me on her own while working whatever job she was working at the time. My mom's been very entrepreneurial from when I can remember. So you can imagine how that might be for a single mother. Taking care of a child. So for her, she didn't want to bring another child into this world for them to, experience lack of, because that's what we were experiencing at the time. It was a lot of lack. And she wanted to take care of me first, which is something I can, as a mother, I can completely understand. For me, Joie comes first, my child. She comes first. She comes above anything and everything else. Even before any other child that I might have. She comes first because she's here right now. So I can understand that feeling. Is it appropriate? Maybe not. It doesn't matter. But that's how you feel as a mother. You're fearful of what's going to happen next. So my mom planned her abortion to happen on a Friday because she knew I wouldn't be around. And she never told me that she never confirmed that she was pregnant with me. All I knew that I had a baby brother on the way, and she better take care of this baby brother. So she had the abortion on a Friday, and my dad picked me up, and I went to my dad's house. And according to my dad, I was very depressed. We didn't know why. I didn't know why I was depressed. My dad doesn't know why I was depressed. My mom didn't even know why I was depressed, because in her eyes, I'm just a child. I don't know anything. So my dad calls my mom and is asking my mom, hey, what happened with Maia? She's really depressed this week and she's really sad. And my mom didn't tell my dad about this baby brother that I was expecting. My mom didn't tell my dad that she had an abortion because she doesn't have to, right? This is something that you're dealing with on your own. It's her body. Her herself is dealing with a loss, whether she felt attached to that baby or not. And I was depressed for a while. So I was 7 years old, depressed, with no ways with no ways to adjust to this feeling, this loss, this grief that I was feeling. No one to talk about it because it wasn't real. That baby brother was not real. And so I never spoke about my baby brother ever again. And this is a story that my mom told. And, I'm listening to this. I'm like, I don't remember none of this. I don't feel attached to this story. I don't remember this at all. But apparently, this story needed to be brought up for us to continue with my Reiki attunement. That's how important this story is. Okay. And I have no idea why. And Deborah doesn't know why. She's like, I don't know what the significance of this is, but I just know that I needed to bring it up. So now we can continue. I got my Reiki attunement. It was a wonderful day. Practiced on my dad. It was a wonderful day. Ever since I got the Reiki attunement, I've been practicing on myself. I've been practicing on my baby. I've been giving our plants Reiki, just practicing on myself before I can start giving it to others. But it was a great day. I didn't really think too much about the story. I didn't think too deeply about, the depression I experienced at such a young age. And so we get home and my dad is there and we're all sitting in my mom's backyard. We're drinking tea. And my mom starts telling my dad this story for the first time. And, I'm listening to the story again. This is probably my fourth time hearing this story. But my mom said something that finally struck a chord with me and I felt it. And it was the part where she said I was telling my friends or my classmates at school, I was telling my teachers about this baby brother on the way and this excitement I had for this unborn child. And I felt it in my heart. And I didn't know why until I got home, until I went to bed and I woke up at 3 a.m. thinking about it. And it all just came to me. And so now I remember I finally started to feel how I felt at 6 years old when this happened. And you have to understand something about me or the child I was at that time. I was always an outcast. I lived in isolation, maybe because I was an only child, but I didn't have a lot of friends. I had maybe 1-2 friends. Those were really the only people I talked to. And the only kids I played with. And so I was always in isolation. So it actually took a lot for me to share that very personal information with my classmates and my teachers. That excitement that I had, it took a lot for me to share that, because what I'm learning now is that I was a very sensitive child. And so I protected my energy by being shy. We label it as shyness, but really it's just sensitive children protecting themselves. And so for me to share that part of myself with the classmates, and for it to be shut down, this soul that I had connected myself to now just completely aborted, taken away from me with no rhyme or reason. I have no idea what's going on because no one communicated to me. My mom completely just kind of swept it under the rug and acted like nothing happened, because she didn't understand at the time what I was experiencing as a child, which is completely understandable. So the reason why I'm telling this story is because that has a huge effect to who I am today. Who I am today, like I said earlier, what did I say? I said, I don't like to sell myself. I don't like to show people my excitement for things in case it goes wrong. I don't like to speak up in case I'm wrong and then I'm embarrassed. I don't like to share myself with strangers because I don't want anyone to shut me down. And so these are all fear-based thoughts. These are all fear-based beliefs that I developed in that moment that my parents thought insignificant at the time because I was so young. And so that's why inner child work is so important, because all these little happenings in our life from the ages, from the moment you're born until about 7-8 years old, you are creating foundational beliefs that will stick with you for the rest of your life, right? So children are sponges. They absorb everything from our parents, from things we see on TV, from things we hear about, from the music we're listening to, good or bad. Children are absorbing all of that. So when we're born into this world, onto this earth, we are perfect divine spirits, souls. We are true infinite light. And somewhere down the line, our light gets dimmed because of these little happenings. And it's not necessarily the happenings that happen, it's how we internalize and how we create belief systems around these experiences that we have. So it doesn't necessarily need to be so traumatic. Some of us have had extremely traumatic childhoods and some of us haven't. But whether it's traumatic or not, the way we process things as children stays with us and it travels with us throughout our adulthood. And so we create very limiting beliefs about ourselves. And that might sound like I'm unlovable. I'm not likable, or I'm not good enough, or, you can think of many, I'm sure. And then we create beliefs about the world. We're not safe. This world isn't safe. Life is hard. We create beliefs about money. We create beliefs about relationships. We create beliefs about pretty much anything as children. And so when we're in our adulthood, we relive those experiences as children. We're no longer adults anymore. In our emotional body, we're not adults anymore. We're acting as if we are 5, 6, or 7 again. And that's how I felt sitting in that chair when I was about to get my Reiki attunement. I felt like a child again. And that's a good thing. It's good that the child inside of you is still alive. We want to keep that child alive, but we want that child to feel loved, and we want that child to feel nurtured, just as you would your own child. We don't want that child to live in fear, and we don't want that child to live in survival mode anymore. We don't want that child to feel unloved. We don't want that for any child. So why allow that for ourselves? And so I want us to start bringing awareness to the thoughts that we have through our day-to-day lives. Thoughts we have about sitting in traffic, thoughts we have about, oh, I don't want to cook today, or thoughts we have about losing weight or getting fit or eating healthy, thoughts we have about our career, thoughts we have about our children, thoughts we have about our partners, our parents, our friends. How many of those thoughts are very self-limiting, and how many of those thoughts are developed from fear mode? And if you can do this, which takes some work, which is what inner child work is to go back and figure out what happened in those years from 1 to 7 or 1 to 8, where you first developed that belief. And that we will talk about more in depth later on. But for now, let's just bring out all of our thoughts that we have about little things that happen in our day, big or small. How do we feel about them? What do we think? And bringing your thoughts to your conscious awareness, because we are on autopilot all the time. These thoughts come up in like blimps. They come and they go. They come and they go constantly. And so those limiting thoughts ultimately become our reality. And it's all that we see. And so we love, as human beings, we love to be right about everything. And so we love to be right about the wrong things. Right? So think of things we hear all the time. You got to work hard. More money, more problems, just these beliefs about money, these beliefs about relationships. Love is hard. Love is painful. That's one that I have. Love is painful. When I love deeply, it hurts my chest. I literally think of the Grinch, like when his heart is expanding and it's painful. That's how I feel. And so that is a very limiting belief about love, because love can in fact be easy. Money can be easy. The things that you can make lots of money from the things that you love doing, and it can be easy. You don't necessarily have to work hard. Is it a practice? Yes, it's a practice, but does practicing have to be hard? No, it can be enjoyable. It can be. And, and it comes up a lot. My fear comes up a lot around money, especially because I experienced lack as a child. So I still, as an adult, I feel like I'm lacking even when I'm not. And so I'm constantly living in fear mode. And because I'm living in fear mode, things will happen to validate my fears around money. So I'm going to lose lots of money. I'm going to get into a car accident. I'm going to have to pay a whole bunch of money to get my car fixed. See, there you go. You're right, Maya. You were right about that. Life is hard. We don't want to be right about that anymore. I don't want to be right about that anymore. I want life to be easy, so it will be easy. And if I can shift my thinking to, if I can shift my thoughts to more to higher vibrational thoughts, then the world around me will start to change. And this is a practice. It's okay to think negatively all the time, right? As human beings, we're meant to experience a wide spectrum of feelings. We're meant to feel anger sometimes, and we're meant to feel sorrow sometimes, and we're meant to feel pride sometimes. And sometimes we need to be in survival mode because it gets us to a certain point. It gets us to a point where we need to go. Yes. But there's a point where those emotions no longer serve you, and it's time to let those emotions go and to start shifting your emotions to higher vibrational emotions. And how we do that is through our thoughts. It all starts with our thoughts. So, and we talk about different vibrational hertz that emotions vibrate to. So understanding that everything is energy, everything is vibrational energy. The lowest frequency of emotion is guilt and shame. Those are the two lowest. And you can see when you watch the news, you can see when you have certain conversations with people, how they operate and they live in that space of guilt and shame. They're shaming others, or they're shaming themselves, or they're guilting others, or they feel guilt themselves. And it's just this constant back and forth of giving and receiving guilt and shame. And so their whole identities live around that. And that's a very low vibration to live into. And it all starts with their thoughts that they have internally. So if we could start reworking those thoughts to start going up the spectrum, right? We start going up, and, you know, in the middle, there's neutrality. Boredom is a higher vibrational frequency than guilt and shame, even anger. So we start moving up the spectrum and see all of these emotions are meant to be felt as human beings, right? We've been put onto this earth to be humans, to live the human experience, which is why we have all these emotions. No problem. But we can't live into it all the time. The more you live into these low vibrational thoughts, the further away you are from your truest divine self. So we can use our emotions as basically a compass as to which direction we're going. And ideally, what we want is to be our truest divine selves. And what that is everything that you've ever wanted for yourself is already yours. You are already that. You are true infinite light already at your core. That's who you were brought here to be. So it already exists. But because we get distracted by our human experience, which is meant to happen, we live on the complete opposite side of ourselves, of our truest selves, of ourselves that are closest to God. We're on the complete other end, and we live there. And we're going in the opposite direction, and we're fighting every day of our lives, when instead we can just start shifting ourselves to the right direction of our truest divine selves. And we do that through, and you can use your emotions as a compass. So when you are feeling empowered, when you are feeling peace, when you are feeling joy, which is why I named my child joy. It's one of the highest frequencies of emotions. You are on the path to your divine self. And it's not about getting there. It's about the journey. And don't you want to feel joy? Wouldn't you want to feel joy ideally 100% of the time? Right? Like, you know, you analyze people's lives and you see how, wow, you're really depressed. 75% of the time you're depressed and you're down and you're sad and you're angry, and we feed off of this anger off of each other. Sometimes it feels good to be angry. Yes, it's a human emotion that was meant to be felt. But when does it stop serving you? If I told you that every time you live in anger, you live in sadness, you're getting further and further away from yourselves, wouldn't you want to start actively making changes to go in the direction that you want to be in instead of prolonging it? And it's a practice, right? So I'm not perfect. I live in fear a lot, but I try not to stay there too long. And I'm trying to, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I'm trying to focus my energy inwards so I can make a difference outwards. And it's something that I have to check in with myself every day to do. Because ultimately, I just want to feel joy. I just want to be happy. I want to feel happiness. I want to see my life and feel like I'm living in it and I'm enjoying it the best that I can, no matter what happens in my life. No matter what happens in my life, good or bad, I still want to feel joy, experience joy within that. I want to live in my life presently, and I want to feel all the good things that are around me, because when I live in anger and when I'm living in fear, it's really hard for me to see all the good in my life. And I have a lot of good in my life. I do. and I don't want to miss it. So that's just it. So I'm focusing on my thoughts internally, and I'm starting to learn where I develop these thoughts, and I want to start feeling excitement in my life again. I don't want to be that little girl who had her dream crushed, taken away from her, literally an aborted dream. I don't want to live into that anymore. I want that little girl to be happy. So I'm going to give her everything I can to make her happy. And I can do that now as an adult. And that's really just it. That's what I wanted to come in here and talk about today. That is the foundation to everything that I would ever speak about on this podcast is to just live and experience your life in the joy in that and what it is. Simply that. And everything that you've ever wanted will start manifesting. That's how you start to receive all the gifts that life has for you, is by living in alignment. By keeping yourself aligned, by start seeing all the good and all the love and all the joy and all the peace and all the enlightenment that actually is in your life today, and stop trying to fight it. Stop trying to get out of this predicament you are in right now, and actually enjoy this predicament. And I know that's hard to say for others, because some of us are experiencing great loss. A lot of us have lost people this year. A lot of us are traumatized by the things we're seeing in the news. A lot of us are living in fear mode because of this virus. A lot of us don't know what our next plan is going to be. And so we live in anxiety about, am I ever going to have the career that I want? Or am I ever going to receive all the things that I want? And so we're actively trying to make choices to get out of this predicament that we're in. But I promise you, if you start aligning yourself, and if you start shifting your self-limiting or shedding those self-limiting beliefs into more transitional, more progressive beliefs, whatever choice you make after that will be the right choice. And whatever thing that you do after that, after you've been in alignment, after you've been living in alignment for a while, will be the right thing for you, and you'll get there 100,000%. You will get there. It just starts with, you got to do it inwards before you can experience it outwards. And so just enjoy where you are right now. As hard as that might feel like it is, find joy in your life. Think better thoughts about whatever it is that you're experiencing. And an example of this is, if you have conflict with a person, or if you have conflict with a family member and you just don't see how this could ever be resolved, that's fine. Take a moment to stop focusing on the resolution, and instead allow yourself to love that person for who they are, even if it's from a distance. You don't ever have to speak to that person again. But if you can do it from a distance and say, you know what, me and this person don't get along, but I'm really happy with how they handled this situation. Or I could never speak to this person again, but I'm really happy we got to experience the things that we did experience before there was conflict. These are just little examples of thoughts that shift our emotions to a higher vibrational emotion, so that we can actually be in alignment, because we're human beings. We came here to love. That's all we want. We just want to be loved. We want to feel love. We want to give love. So why repress that for yourself? Because when you repress love for others, you repress love for yourself. It doesn't feel good to be angry at a person, or maybe it does, but after a while it doesn't feel good anymore. And you don't ever have to speak to that person again, but I can love you from afar. And by loving you from afar, I'm receiving that love back, whether you show it or not. It has nothing to do with me. And that's just one example. And there's thousands and thousands of examples. But what I ask for anyone who's listening, and what I ask of myself, is to start calling yourself out on all the limiting beliefs that you have in a day, and try to rework them to a higher frequency thought, so you can start feeling better emotions, so you can start living in alignment, and so you can start being the person that you were meant to be all along. And I promise you, everything that you've ever wanted is there. It's waiting for you. It's just waiting for you to get there. And it all starts with practicing alignment. And that's it. I think I've said everything that I needed to say today. I feel really good about this. And thank you so much for listening. I appreciate whoever clicked on this, decide to listen to it. Even if no one listens to it, it's an honor just to sit here and speak my truth. So thank you, and have a great day.